Over the past 4 videos, you guys have had a lot of ideas of what I should add to my Mario game. So before we get into the big stuff, let's do a quick lightning round and go through all of the little things that I changed. You ready? Me neither. Fire Mario's hat is now white, piranha plants don't come out of pipes when you're too close, bullet bills don't get shot when you're near the cannon, buzzy beetles don't die to fire, you can't spam fireballs much to my dismay, the superstar animation is much the more better. That wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be. Okay, so something that I wanted to do for a while now is add the new player characters, because they can give a whole new way to play the game. First up we have Luigi, also known as Green Mario, and he is in fact better than Mario in every single way. That isn't an opinion, it's actually objective fact, and you cannot change my mind. Luigi is a little bit taller than Mario, and he can jump a little bit higher, which is canonical in some other games. This wasn't too hard to implement either, I just spent some time drawing up a sprite sheet, and I should say that this is not just the same sprite sheets with different colours. I did still draw all of these by hand, and it took so long. Why didn't I just change the colours? That would have been so much easier. Also, for Luigi, derpy is a massive understatement, you know, just look at this guy. Now since I'm making the original Super Mario Bros, there aren't a lot of abilities like in the newer games, but I could not give a freaking heck, so next up we're adding ground pounds, and that is Wario's ability. Not gonna lie, I don't really like Wario. His moustache is way too spiky, but I do really like the sprite that I made for him. I think it's pretty darn heckin' cute. As you can expect, Wario can't jump very high because he's just too thick, but yeah, he's a little man just walking about, and when he's in the air he can ground pound to squish enemies or break brick blocks, or you know, just let some of that anger out. I think it's pretty fun to zoom around levels and break brick blocks, but what's even more fun is Wario's sidekick, Waluigi. Waluigi, being the athletic boy that he is, can jump a little bit higher and run a little bit faster than everyone else, but he is also a long boy. He is very slender and has very elongated legs. He's also pretty technical, so that's why I gave Waluigi the ability to teleport. He can zoom in front of himself, which could work really well for some puzzle and maybe even some more complicated combat mechanics, but I think the main selling point of this character is the wonderful artwork. I mean, look at these sprites. Wah. You'll probably notice that he has really big feet as well, and you know what they say about big feet. Big shoes. So these are the 4 boys of the Mushroom Kingdom, and I really like how they turned out. I know I'm kind of bashing my art style here because it's pretty childish and not conventionally, you know, good, but I think it has a nice sort of charm to it, you know? And thank you to everyone who's been leaving those nice comments on these videos. You don't know how much that means to me. Now let's get back to the video with Princess Peach. Peaches, 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 peaches. So Peach's sort of funky girl boss move is that she can float downwards and kind of glide gracefully to the ground, and again I think the sprites look kinda derpy and I really like them. I think this could make for some pretty interesting platforming challenges, kinda like low gravity parkour. But for Daisy, I wanted to do something a little bit different, and that's why I gave her a special flower power ability thing. I don't really know what to call them. I mean, her name is Daisy, so I think it fits pretty well. And yeah, she can take out sentient mushrooms from miles away, which I think is pretty cool. You can also see that I added a bit of movement to the particles here to give it that extra magical vibe. And yeah, the ranged attack adds a new sort of element to the gameplay, which I think is nice. So that's it for the new characters, but now let's look at the new power-ups. Firstly, we have the weird mushroom from Super Mario Maker 1, and just know that I had to draw this absolute monster. I have constant nightmares now, thanks guys. To be fair, I did find these animations pretty hilarious, and of course he can zoom up into the stratosphere with his epic jump skills. Moving on to something a little bit more chill, we have the Ice Flower from New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Very similar to the Fire Flower, it's exactly the same mechanics, and obviously we don't want this. Instead, enemies freeze into little cubes and we can push them around and smash them into walls, which is pretty fun. I bet this could be used for some puzzle levels later on, so let's see how that goes. And do you remember New Super Mario Bros. Wii? Remember the propeller hat that was the absolute best power up in the entire game, and when you were playing with your friends and they'd get the power up instead of you and you would wish death upon their family? Well, I made this super simple propeller sprite plus the mushroom to go along with it, and now we got it in the game. It zooms you up pretty quickly, but it is pretty cool and fun to play with, and obviously I just had to make Waluigi T-pose. So yeah. And hey, do you remember New Super Mario Bros. Wii? Well, I thought I'd take just a little bit of inspiration from it and make the mini mushroom. It's a little bit small, you can barely see it, but when you grab it, you shrink down to the size of my ego and you can jump super high and run super fast. Nice. Now since I'm making the mini mushroom, we of course have to add the mega mushroom. In the last video, I showed the bonsai build having an effect on the level 3 physics, and I did the exact same thing here with his power up. Wario is already a pretty chunky guy, so I think this mushroom fits his character. Penguins! I remember the penguin suit from a certain game in my childhood. It's essentially a combination between the FUNKe suit and the ice flower. The penguin moves really well in the water, but also can freeze wiggly boys on land. Swaggers. Of course, it can belly slide along the entire ground, which I think this is just the best game mechanic I've ever made and ever will make in my entire life. But obviously, we can't all have nice things, and one of y'all awesome people suggested poison shrooms from... Actually, I don't know where the game is from, but it was a great idea. It basically has the same movement of the normal Mush Mush, but instead it moves towards you, at kind of a slow speed. It can of course jump over blocks that gets in its way, and it is a pretty interesting form of enemy. Following on with things that are bad for your health, we have dehydration. Please go drink some water. Alright, good job. We have a regular sentient mushroom guy, but what if we made him bigger? What if we made him really, really big? And then, get this, you jump on his face and he turns into little versions of himself. Oh, I'm so original and funny and good at making games. Haha, haha. And this is what happens when we make him even bigger. Now this got me thinking about the combo system in Mario, where the more enemies you jump on without touching the ground, you get more and more points until you start getting 1-ups. So I hand drew all of these numbers, and it was pretty easy to just slap some code on top of everything that I already had. And yeah, I can even get the infinite 1-up glitch using Koopa shells, so that is positively swagging. And because a lot of you suggested it, I added Icoso into the game. You're welcome.